Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what's
Dave,
Josh.
you've been playing Titanfall.
Yes, I have.
Tell me about Titanfall, because I haven't really got to play it since we played the alpha.
Yeah, I'm going to entitle this segment Titanfall 2 or Why EA Needs to Go Fuck Itself with its release schedules. Basically, this game, before I even talk about the quality of the game, I talk about just how unfair things are right now with this game. Basically, there's a couple of reports going out right now that Titanfall 2 is basically getting shat on by Battlefield 1 and also the impending COD Infinite Warfare. I think they said something like...
Which comes out Friday.
Exactly.
Yep.
And they said something like 5 to 6 million units projected, which, you know, sounds like a lot, but it actually really isn't much for like an EA game.
Not for a release this late in the year.
Especially since they said something like Titanfall 1 did something like 11 million, I think. So
Yeah.
it's like
Over the
it's
course of
literally-
its life, yeah, it did like 11 million.
So like, literally sliced in half. So that really sucks. And
But are they saying by the end of the year, or are they saying in total? For like sales.
they're saying, I think they're saying total. I'm not sure if that's what the projection was. I just know that the projection is very low considering what it was supposed to be, what the original projection said.
I mean,
So-
I think another thing that people are missing on this point is like Titanfall 2. Like, think about
Currently
if they
playing right
released
now,
this
by
in
the
the
way.
spring. Yeah, which I mean, it's gotten critically great reviews. I'm really interested in it. I want to pick it up. I just don't have any money.
Mhm.
But it's just people are bashing EA for this. Like, maybe they couldn't have put it out in the spring. I mean, think about it. Spring is like the end of the financial year. That's a tricky
Oh.
situation for a lot of games.
Yeah.
And like, you can't if there's a game that's done, you know, most publishers don't want to just hold on to it, right? And I understand it's a tricky situation. I don't think that they're just going to say like, oh, we can't make Titanfall 3 because Titanfall 2 didn't sell well. This is just, I think,
They probably will still make one.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I just think this is just, you know, unfortunate because I think they put it here for a reason. I don't think they just put it here because they were like, oh, the shooter market can handle it. We'll still sell huge numbers. I think they put it here because they want to take away sales from Call of Duty as much as possible, and they can't push it too far into the next year.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
actually a really good point, because I mean, the crossover between the Titanfall and Battlefield audience, I would say, might be pretty vast.
Well,
but
I made a whole video
like,
about this, about how
maybe the idea was like, oh, if we have two shooters out and at least one of them does good and one of them does okay, we'll still sell more
Yeah, it's just the only problem.
copies than, but they might not still even make as much money because they had to, you know, fund two games.
The only problem is
I don't know.
It's
It's weird.
It's basically it's almost like it's being discussed by a lot of games media people that a lot of people feel that Battlefield 1 is cannibalizing Titanfall 2.
Oh, it is.
And I believe
Because-
it. Honestly, after all that hype, and especially with you guys talking about how good Battlefield 1 was, I believe it 100%. Like it's
good.
Especially since the campaign is really good for Battlefield 1, and it's also really good for Titanfall 2. I was a little worried about it because, of course, Titanfall 1 didn't even have a campaign, so I wasn't sure how they were even going to approach Titanfall 2's campaign. But Titanfall 2, geez, like it's not like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best campaign I've ever played in my life. It really isn't. I think that still goes to Wolfenstein: The New Order for the most part, as far as like best single player campaign goes. Mostly because that was the only thing
ever.
Well, I mean,
I think you mean shooters.
I think I mean shooters.
Yeah, best shooter campaign ever.
I guess my gut instinct said Wolfenstein. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I really thought about it,
I'd still go with Modern Warfare, but
what are you guys talking? Okay,
what would honestly?
What are you gonna say?
Let's not dive into it.
Half-Life games. I don't know. Way better. Like more.
No, we're not getting into that. No, I'm not. I'm not diving into that.
Problem,
No.
Yeah,
We're not doing
like
that.
I played
Different
Half-Life
topic
so
entirely.
late.
But actually,
it's like, I don't know,
well, Kyle, it's actually good you brought that up because that's actually one of the reasons I love the Titanfall 2 campaign, because it doesn't play like COD. It actually plays like Half-Life or Portal. Basically, the first you start out, and I don't want to give away too much about the campaign because it's actually a really good campaign. I want people to play it, but basically it just like escalates more and more and more. So you start just doing things like where you're wall running and you're basically going around like kind of like I want to call it like a Halo sized map, basically. Like how like the campaign maps for Halo were like really really big and you have a lot of space to move around. Just add Titanfall's movement stuff into it as well. You can jump around, wall run, jetpack, all that stuff, and I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. And of course you get to climb into a Titan at points too, which is even more fun. And you get your Titan BT which is, this is the cool part, that BT can actually switch the equipment packs on the fly, like as you're playing. So you can literally just say, okay, well I want to be Scorch now. And that's just, you just press a button and you switch. So you don't even have to like respawn or anything. You just keep going. I like that part a lot. And then basically what I mean by it becoming kind of more like a Half-Life or a Portal campaign later is, and again, not giving away too much, but I do have to say one little thing so this whole thing makes sense. There is a point where you're handed something that makes you travel back in time. So basically you press a button.
What?
You press a button and the place you're in transports to the same spot, but just like, I don't know, like a couple hours earlier or something when
Is this late in the game?
No, I think it's like the second or third level of 6.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not
Right.
like, I don't want to give away too much about what you find there, but it is like it's a laboratory basically. And you're going through a laboratory and basically you arrive there and the laboratory is completely destroyed. And, nothing.
Mutants!
And then you're given this device that transports you back in time to when the laboratory was fine. So it's actually a mechanic. You basically, let's say you're at a point.
So you spoiled it.
Well, I didn't spoil.
Yes.
I didn't spoil shit. Fuck you.
Spoiled it.
There was an embargo on that mechanic. Just saying.
Oh well, I mean the
Thanks,
game's out,
Dave.
so fuck you.
Thanks, Dave. You broke embargo.
The real
Game that's out.
okay, game that's out. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
I know.
The last thing I really want to talk about with that is basically there'd be a point, say, where you're in the past and you come upon a door that's guarded by like a laser thing or it's locked, and you switch to the future and it's there's just a hole there, so you just walk through. Or
So what you're telling me is that Titanfall 2 is just a remake of Singularity.
I don't even know what
Singularity.
was.
Oh my god, that game.
I don't even know
Yeah,
what you're talking
Singularity.
That was a Raven
dude.
game, right? That was a Raven.
Yeah, it was a Raven game where like the whole mechanic was you had this glove where like it was a shooter and you did exactly that. It'd be like, oh, this staircase is broken down in the present time, but let me turn it into a staircase from the 1950s and it's fixed.
Didn't Raven also make the the older Castlevania remake? Like Return
Yep,
to
the one with
Castlevania?
all the magic and stuff. That one was cool, actually.
Yeah.
I really
Time
liked
Bomb
it.
Fifth Man.
It just came out at like a weird time, I think, and people were kind of like, I don't know about all this, but it was like, yeah, the whole idea was it was all based around all those, the whole conspiracy thing that like Nazis were occultists and stuff. So they have all this like all these Nazis doing like black magic and stuff, and you unlock spells, and it was cool. I thought it was pretty cool, but yeah, Raven, I think very underrated.
Yeah, they
as
just
a
make like
developer.
map packs now, don't they?
Yeah, I think they're a satellite studio basically for COD. They make COD maps.
Yeah.
I think they worked on Infinite Warfare, pretty sure.
But Titanfall.
But Titanfall.
Titanfall.
So what I really like, I mean, granted, that's about as much of the campaign I really want to talk about at this point because I don't want to spoil too much. But basically, at the end of the day, I want to say the campaign is really, really good. And it definitely was worth putting into the game, and it definitely adds to the game instead of like detracting, which I think some people might have been afraid of, given that they had to they were kind of feeling forced to put the campaign in, I guess, because that was like the huge thing that was really levied against Titanfall 1. So I'm very, very glad to report that the campaign is definitely worth the playthrough. I wouldn't necessarily say that you could buy Titanfall 2 just for its campaign. That'd be kind of dumb. But as far as everything else, though, I mean, the multiplayer, which I'm currently playing right now, that's just as good as when we played it, Josh. I mean, it's Titanfall 2. Basically, I'm seeing a lot more positivity on the subreddit for Titanfall now, as opposed to when the tech test was being done, though. So it's clear they changed something that kind of made the older.
It was
fans
the
happy.
momentum. from what I understand, like Titanfall people who were like way into it, that small community
Yeah.
were complaining that the momentum was off. It didn't feel right, and they couldn't chain movement the same way they could in the original, and that was like,
Game breaking for them.
I guess, great game breaking for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So between betas, or I think even during the beta, like after the first week, they patched it so that it went kind of back to what it was before. Like they changed it so it made platforming and chaining, grappling hooks and movement like
Right.
a little easier, and apparently that went over very well. So
Yeah, and I'm definitely seeing the result of it over on their subreddit. I mean, there's just way less salt over there. It's nice. But yeah, I mean, basically the whole point I want to talk about is basically I'm seeing, of course, I mentioned before that the sales for Titanfall 2 are super low, and it's mostly because, like I said, it's getting cannibalized. So
I wouldn't say low. I would say lower than they could have been, but
yeah. But I mean,
low
low for
is-
Titanfall.
some games wish they could sell 1 million
true.
copies. They're gonna sell like 6 million. That's still pretty good,
Oh yeah, it's good, but I'm just saying that I don't know. I guess for what they were expecting, which they're trying to, and I've touched upon this before, that they're kind of trying to outdo COD, which of course, good fucking luck with that. But at the same time, I thought that might have had a shot at it if maybe they had just released it at a different time. Not necessarily any time like way far from now. I'm just saying either a little bit after or a little bit before now.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably a bad
I'm personally really curious how people are going to feel about, or how anyone's really feeling about COD right now, because you and I both played the beta, and we were both pretty negative.
Shot in the back simulator
it.
2016.
Yeah,
dude.
I
was not.
I
having
did not
fun with
enjoy
it
it, like at all.
Yeah, I
I
hated
played
it.
it for about an hour, and I was like, man, this is
Yeah.
not fun,
So-
like at all. So
What would be cool is that if basically COD comes out to really lukewarm reviews and people kind of walk away from it, what if people turn around and say, hey, well, let's check out Titanfall, and then
That's what I feel like is going to be happening.
that would be
'Cause I'm-
awesome.
Yeah, Titanfall is so similar to Call of Duty because they're both futuristic shooters. They both
yeah,
really fast paced.
Except they have
I mean, I
giant
think-
fucking robots, Kyle.
Yeah.
Giant fucking
You know what I
robots.
find really funny is that Infinite Warfare has the same like boost system that
Yep.
Titanfall has, where like you're in the air and you hold the jump button, and you get that little
Well,
like
I mean, that's because
that little,
because they're all cannibalizing Titanfall, basically. Not cannibalizing.
yeah.
They're all.
They're not cannibalized.
I keep using
Yeah.
cannibalize. Like, I'm just so addicted to the word cannibalize. I keep using it for everything.
It's a cool word.
Kyle, you are
It's a cool word.
cannibalizing this podcast.
this conversation.
It's-
You're ruining it, Kyle. You're gonna.
I feel
ruin
like
it.
I feel like
I ruin everything.
Peter in Family Guy when I'm saying something shallow and pedantic. But
This,
I will
this
say,
meal is shallow and pedantic. Was that
I-
a thing we used to say?
yeah,
I'll bring that back.
Somebody said it.
We should
at
bring
some
it
point,
back.
But I
definitely.
will say Titanfall 2, like I understand that it is like half of its original sales, which is really bad, but like the original Halo sold around that much. So, it's still doing fine.
That was also on
Yeah.
one console, by the way.
Yeah,
Halo was
but
on-
still the
yeah.
point is like with
Well,
everything
no,
considered,
Titanfall
it's
was
not
on
doing
PC.
super bad.
No, well, I'm talking about Halo. I mean, Halo had a PC release later,
okay.
but
I'm just saying, like Titanfall, yeah, it's not doing great, but like in terms of just game sales, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's gonna be-
Especially like it's
be
gonna
okay.
have long lasting appeal. It's gonna sell probably throughout the next year consistently.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna buy it at some point, but
I definitely
not
recommend you
anytime
do.
Soon.
It's basically, I guess the reason I react in such a way is because you guys remember what happened to Battleborn? Like, it was, like I really loved the game and I was singing its praises, and came out right at the time Overwatch did. And granted, this is a different situation, but at the same time, it's like I get scared the minute something like this happens, and I hear like, oh well, the sales aren't so hot. I'm like, oh no, not again.
I feel like Battleborn is a little different because it's like that really did feel like a game that was like 2 or 3 years too late. Like it missed its window,
Yeah.
and
It just looked atrocious to me.
it just like it literally was League of Legends, the first person shooter, and you could that game would have flied, like 3 years prior to its release. But at that time, it was like people were kind of like, stepping away from MOBAs, or the MOBA genre was changing into what it is now, which is basically like Heroes and Battle Right, sort
Yeah.
of, like a little more, not like hour-long games.
Right.
And yeah, it just didn't. I don't know. I think there were some more bigger problems with that game, but yeah, we should get moving on.